Humans don't multitask very well most of the time. This is the World Health Organization's logic model for social determinants of health. It's good. Like in terms of content, I would say that this is very constructive. It gives us an interesting way to think about the factors people cannot control, the factors and how the factors people cannot control actually contribute to factors they can control. And so it raises questions about, well, factors people can control, if there are reasons they can't control them even though they think they can, then how do we need to think about social systems and social structures? Okay, it's great. But I just destroyed this room by showing you all this on the screen. Before I put this on the screen, I had some idea, and you had some idea, about what everyone else in the room was thinking about and what they were looking at. And therefore, we were kind of on the same page. As soon as I put this on the screen, I, as the presenter, in this case, have no idea what you're thinking about anymore, because I don't know what you're looking at. So the synchronicity, so to speak, between where we were prior to this screen and where we are with this screen raises some interesting questions. Now, I said earlier, like, we need to make space for people to make connections in their minds. So probably what would be helpful now is if I showed you this visualization of all these kind of neurons connecting in time and space. And I'm explicitly showing you this right now to make the point that people need bandwidth. But that was a jarring non sequitur. And the last 30 seconds was pretty terrible, because I just lost you all. I lost you all intentionally because I'm trying to make a point that the synchronicity just snapped. It started with the chart that we don't know where we are anymore, and then I just made it worse by kind of throwing on visuals. Even while I was telling you why I was showing you the visual, it's questionable as to how well you would just even to tell me what that had to do, what that second visual had to do with the first visual. So let's slow it down. Making connections. If the whole thing is people integrating what they're learning in their mind, if it's making connections, people need bandwidth. They need margins in their brain in order to make that happen. And like I said earlier, if we just flood the zone visually and verbally, we are robbing people of the space that they need in order to be able to do that. So our goal in creating slides, in structuring our talks, needs to at least consider how we reduce context switching and how we reduce filtering burden on the people who are engaging with our talks, because we want to widen that margin for people to make connections. So I'm going to throttle down the sensory signals I'm sending from this end. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Has anyone ever said this to a small child? Yes. Okay, thank you. I was about to be. I'm the only one who has said this to a small child. I've definitely said this to a small child. Maybe I regret it. But has anyone ever had a person older than you say this to you? Look at me when I'm talking. Yeah, okay, there's a few more of us. Okay. Now, why is it that we say that? Well, we know that when we're when I'm looking at you and you're looking at me, in communication theory, we call that channel richness, right? There's as little disturbance, there's as little noise as possible when I'm looking at you and you're looking at me. That's great. Very often, when we get up and give each other presentations, we do this. We say, look over there at that other thing while I tell you something else. This is the part of the PowerPoint era phenomenon I talked about at the beginning that we did not evolve since 1987. We have not effectively evolved as a species since 1987 to deal with this. What happens when we synchronize our visual and our words is that we create space to, as much as possible, open the channel richness as we can. I could open that channel richness right now. The channel richness in this room is probably no higher than it actually is right now. Right? The number of you that I can look in the eye right now and know that we're talking to each other is like optimal channel richness. Now, as soon as I put something on the slides, I see you looking over there. Now, if I don't know what you're looking at, I don't really have a good idea of what you're thinking about. And so this becomes a really key thing to think about when it comes to slide design. There are a lot of problems with lists for this reason. The first problem with this list is obvious, that you've finished scanning this list, at least by the time that I have finished talking about this first bullet point. And now I'm going to keep talking about this list, even though we kind of already know where this is all going. Now, I could probably improve this by highlighting the exact pieces I'm talking about. So I could say, okay, the problem with this list is that the visual and the oratory are inherently asynchronous. And I'm going to try to curtail that problem by, okay, I'm talking about point 2 right now. But let's say that works. Like, tell me about the last presentation you were at, and I will bet you money it had a list. Tell me what was on the list. Tell me what was on the list of the last presentation you saw. No, and there were probably multiple lists. And if you remember anything from the list, you don't remember which list they were on or what the order was. The point is that lists are awesome. They're awesome for databases, like fantastic, for linear data retrieval systems. Brains did not evolve for this. Lists are incredibly helpful for getting stuff out of your head, which is when you are trying to think through some big problem. You just go and you just start dumping ideas into a list. They don't work the other way around. They do not. They are one way. They are incredibly powerful, but they really work in one direction only. Not our fault. Okay, here is my 30-second complete and utter rant on Microsoft PowerPoint. This thing sucks. Okay, so you open the thing, and it's like, okay, here is where you put the stuff that people are going to see. And what does it default to making on a new slide? A list. And then it gets even worse, because then they give you this little box down here, and then they say the stuff you're actually going to say that's different from the stuff you put in the list. Humans, they don't multitask very well most of the time. And nowhere is it as more important to think about this as when you are also trying to give people some space in their brains to integrate something new into their knowledge. So we want to make sure there's synchrony in words, text, and media. Even in this presentation, you'll notice I have blank slides a few different places where I want to jar you into not looking at the screen to kind of bring us back together. Blank slides are fantastic. They can be incredibly powerful tools.